Some men find the sea, others are born from it. Captain Jolly Roger was one of the rare few who carried the ocean in his soul, no matter which waters he called home. He started out in the deep, chasing swordfish under open skies, far from shore where the waves demand respect and the silence teaches patience. Out there he learned what it meant to work with the sea, not against it. But life has a way of shifting course. In 1989, when Hurricane Hugo tore across the coast, it forced his boat to shelter inland. What began as a detour turned into a destination. He stepped off that vessel and found home in Murrells Inlet. Years later, he met Carol. She became his anchor and his calm in the storm. She gave him roots when all he had ever known were tides. Their love was steady and strong, built on the same patience and grit that marked every part of his journey. Together, they created a life as enduring as the coastline itself. In Murrells Inlet, he became more than a captain. He became a guide, a teacher, and a fixture of the tide. He taught people how to read the marsh, how to listen to the wind, and how to slow down long enough to see the beauty in the smallest cast or quietest moment. Time with Captain Jolly wasn't measured in fish caught. It was measured in wisdom shared, laughter exchanged, and memories made beneath an open sky. His life was built on salt and sun. He moved with purpose, spoke with heart, and gave generously of all he knew. Whether you met him on the water or at the dock, you walked away with something more. Though the tide has carried him on, his spirit remains. In every cast line, in every rising sun over the creek, in every young fisherman learning to love the water the way he did. So today, we don't just say goodbye. We send him off the only way a seaman should be sent. Fair winds and following seas, Captain. May the wind always be at your back, and the waves carry you gently home. Fisherman, friend, gone from the water, but never far from the tide.
Pretty little fish. All right, what I like most about speckled trout fishing is the time of year is just so peaceful. There's just good fishermen out here, if any, because it is cold, it's cloudy, it's wintertime, and you know, anyone could catch different types of fish. But this is my favorite time of year. I'm not busy, and there's nothing like the feeling of when you get that trout to hit that artificial bait. Like I am working this thing like nobody's business, trying to get that something to strike. And when you do get that strike, there's nothing that feels better than that. I mean, I've caught giant tuna, swordfish. I've caught a lot of fish, but when all of a sudden I feel that pow and that trout hits this, that's what it's all about. That is what life's about to me. That's all I got to say about that. When it comes to reading the water, this is important. Just like in a mountain stream, you have to find those tail races, those eddies. Knowing what's underneath you is more important than knowing what's on top of the surface. What people see in the water when they look out commonly is they see one body of water, but really the ocean is made up of many different bodies. And these bodies of water will stay together. So 60-degree water and 70-degree water will not come together. It will actually push against each separate body, creating what we call a thermocline or an eddy, a temperature break. These bait fish will run along that temperature break on either side. And knowing where these eddies are is important to where you're going to troll your lures. Go through it one way, go through it the other way. Working these eddies in and out, you figure out which side of the water temperature they're preferring, and you'll just consistently fish one side or the other of that break. Also, it's important when you're fishing for trout up in these back creeks is watching the grass lines. You always got to watch the grass lines. Anytime you see a creek coming into the main creek, at those intersections, those outfalls, that's where you're going to find fish, because they're coming out of those back creeks where they're feeding into the main creek. So on a low tide situation, the fish will be more condensed, so you're going to have a better opportunity to catch fish. If I had one lure to choose from, of all the selections, I would go with the 52 MR11. Not for the reasons I know it works and I know how many fish I've caught on it, but I'm a traditional person, and I've seen men out here for 30, 40, and 50 years catch trout on that right there. And I know I could do it. So if I had to count on any of them, it would be this one. And not only trout, but redfish and flounder. I've even caught a 2-inch pinfish on a mirror lure. That one. The best time to fish. The question of the year. Everybody always says, when is the best time to fish? Well, obviously early morning, late afternoon has always been a better bite. Midday fishing in any fishery has always been slow, whether you're largemouth bass fishing on a lake or you're out here in the ocean. That midday bite has pretty much been slow. But it's more of knowing where to be at any particular tide, because our creek is not an estuary, it's a salt marsh. It is just pure salt water. There's not one freshwater river, stream, or lake that drains into our inlet. So this is not an estuary. This is, in fact, a salt marsh, which is very important that you know your own ecosystem, okay? This is a salt marsh, and because of that, it is tidal. We have a 5 to 7 foot tide. So knowing where to be on that particular tide is going to be more important than what time of the day it is. For example, dead low tide, we already said, the fish are condensed. They can't get up in a high grass area on low tide. They can only get up there on high tide. So on low tide, they have no choice but to get condensed into these main channels and creeks. So that's where you want to be on the low tide. On a high tide, you might want to get back further into the back of the marsh as far as you can get, because they're going to be moving into those places that are hard to reach where the bait is going to hide. So it's knowing where to be at what particular tide when you're fishing in this particular inlet. Not only lure selection, but knowing how to use these lures is very important. Now, you can just buy a lure and go down to the beach and just throw it out there and stick it in the rod holder, but it's probably not going to be very effective. What I've learned over the years is the mirror lures, they can be casted, they could be trolled. Remember, it is a sinking mirror lure. When you cast these out there, you want to cast them on a trolling situation. This is, when you cast them out there, you want that rod tip to be close to the surface of the water as you could get it. If you're holding that rod tip down, that's going to keep that mirror lure down. If you're holding that rod tip up in the air, it's going to bring the mirror lure up in the air, and it's not going to be as effective. And as the boat is moving forward, you're going to give it a little snatching motion, just very gentle snatch motion. And when you do that, that's going to cause the mirror lure to dive down and jump up. And when it does that, these suspending fish are going to pick that up. They're going to see that flash, because that sun will reflect off of the mirror lure, and that's what it does. It's made to, reflect that sunlight. And once that fish catches that glimmer, it thinks it's another fish. It looks, and bam, he's on it. So how you use these lures, that would be trolling. You always want to snatch it. Now, if you stick it in a rod holder and just troll along, I'm not saying that you're not going to catch a fish. It happens. But what I'm saying is, the harder you work at fishing, the better your fishing day is going to be. Well, I think it's important that people like me teach younger people how to fish, because I know a lot of fishermen, they hide their secrets, their techniques. I don't know who or what they're hiding it from, but it's better to share it than it is to hide it. Because someday you could look down the road and see that young man catching a fish and say, I showed him how to do that. Isn't that more rewarding than you doing it by yourself on the back of the boat alone? And they don't call them summer trout. They call them winter trout. Because it is cold out here today, and I'm going to have some more hot cocoa. All right, I'm going to let him go now.
hear him long before you saw him, the captain's voice so bold, cutting through the morning inlet like a story being told. A legend in Murrell's Inlet, where the marsh meets the tide. He carved his name in the currents with a lifetime of pride. Murrell's Inlet was the place he made his stand, knowing every winding channel like the back of his hand. Every trip held a story, every cast held a fight, and fish till you die was his compass for life. So rest, Captain Jolly Roger, let the waters hold you near. Your wake still cuts the inlet for the ones who loved you here. Carol was your anchor, your calm in every storm. Now the tide carries you onward, where the light is soft and warm. From sunrise to sunset, he was always on the move, chasing tides and fish with nothing left to prove. He lived wide open with salt in his stride, a man born for adventure on the outgoing tide. And even when the storms rolled in and darkened up the blue, he stood firm at the helm just like he always knew to do. With Carol right beside him through every rise and fall, their love was the harbor that held him through it all. So rest, Captain Jolly Roger, let the waters hold you near. Your stories flow like currents in the inlet we hold dear. Carol was your anchor, your comfort and your guide. Now you sail on gentle waters with the tide at your side, and we'll carry your motto steady, strong and alive. Fish till ye die, Captain, fish till ye die.
My story doesn't end here. It lives on in every sunrise, every tide, every cast you throw. Take care of one another, cherish Carol, and carry my motto with you. Fish till ye die. Oh, and I got one last joke for you. What's the difference between beating your fish and beating your meat? When you beat your fish, it dies.